Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you are watching, yes, your as well as my channel. So when I had put up or rather uploaded the first part of the Merchant of Venice for my ICSE students, I got a lot of requests from my ISE student, ma'am, the same for Tempest. So before I upload the second part of Merchant of Venice, if I don't do anything for my ISC students, naturally they'll be upset. So here I am with the Tempest, a little bit of summary wise revision just before the examination. So yes, here we go. And if you have not subscribed to my channel up till now, please do. And I need it, and don't forget to press the like button after you have seen the whole video. After this comes Act 2 Scene 2, where we find the subplot, the comic relief. This is what we call comic relief, where the minor characters are engaged and they play their roles and the major characters are given some relief, so we call this comic relief. Here we find the minor characters like Caliban, Trinculo and Stephano. Caliban has been ordered to fetch wood for Prospero. He is grumbling, he is angry, he knows that the spirits of Prospero might be hearing, and as such they might torment him on the orders of Prospero. And then he suddenly sees Trinculo. So Trinculo is one of the survivors of the shipwreck. He is the jester, the king's jester. And when he sees the storm brewing in the distance, so what does he do? He comes looking there, and when he sees Caliban, so he tries to get into the, when Caliban sees Trinculo coming, he thinks this is the spirit of one of the spirit of Prospero coming in this shape, because the spirits of Prospero, they come under different shapes to torment Caliban. So when Caliban sees Trinculo coming, he thinks this is one of the spirits, so he plans to lie down so that he might be missed. And then Trinculo comes, and when he sees Caliban, this misshapen, smelling so what should we say, smelling so pungent, so, and then he feels that in order to escape the storm, he can hide inside the cloak of this strange creature. So he gets inside the cloak to hide himself from the storm, to take shelter from the storm. And in the meantime, and naturally Caliban feels, oh, this creature is the spirit of one of the spirits of Prospero, and he has got inside my cloak to torment me. So this offers a lot of comic relief to the audience. They are amused. And at the same time, another survivor of the shipwreck, Stephano, comes. He is quite a shrewd fellow. While jumping into the waters, he has escaped with the king's royal wine, which he has hid in one part of the island. And now he is completely drunk with the royal wine, and then he sees 4 legs popping from the cloak. Actually 2 of them belong to Caliban and 2 of them belong to Trinculo. So he feels this must be some monster of the island, and when he hears them speak, he feels 2 voices. And then Trinculo realizes, oh my God, this is the voice of Stephano. And then finally they realize that there are 2 Neapolitans alive. They don't know that the king and there are other survivors. They think they are the only 2 survivors, so they are very merry. And then Caliban is very impressed when he sees Stephano and Trinculo, especially Stephano, and Stephano gives him some royal wine. Having tasted that royal wine, he is very impressed. He thinks this is some god or something, and he is ready to accept Stephano as his master. And he assures Stephano that he will show him all the good places of this island and how he can become the lord of this island and all that. And Trinculo is quite amazed that Stephano should take. So Stephano is taken for a godlike creature by Caliban, and that is what amuses Trinculo, because Trinculo knows that Stephano is nothing but a butler king's butler. So he is very amused and he keeps on insulting Caliban, but Caliban pays no attention to him, and he goes on telling Stephano that he would show him everything, he would help him in becoming the master of this island, and all this flattery really gets to the head of Stephano, and he assures that yes, I will become the master, and when I become the king of this island, and you two will be my viceroys and all that. He tells Caliban and Trinculo. So Trinculo is quite amused that Caliban should consider Stephano as a person fit to be the master of this island. So this is a comic relief which is offered to us, especially that creeping inside the cloak of Caliban must be really hilarious. Audience must be really just bursting into peals of laughter when this scene is enacted on stage. And then we come to Act 3, Scene 1. Ferdinand and Miranda. Ferdinand has been ordered to pile up the logs, a task given to him by Prospero, and he is thinking of Miranda as he does it, and he says that her father is harsh, but she is 10 times more gentle. And then Miranda comes and she offers to help him, and he says, no, how can that be possible? How can I sit and watch while you work? So she says, yes, because I wish to do it, so my will is on it and yours is against it. So he says, no, I cannot allow that to happen, rather I would allow my muscles to break. Then I would allow my back to break, my sinews or my muscles to crack. And then he asks Miranda, what is your name? And when she says Miranda, suddenly she says Miranda, and then she says that I have forgotten my father's orders. Father had told, no, don't speak and don't tell your name. But she has disobeyed her father. She doesn't know, ironical is that she doesn't know Prospero is present there, but he is invisible. He is watching both of them. He wants to know whether they are really in love with each other, and he is a happy man at the end of the scene. So they keep on praising each other. Miranda, she has forgotten her father's orders, and after hearing her name, Ferdinand goes on praising, and she says also that I have not seen much men, but I don't wish any other companion rather than you. And then Ferdinand also very clearly he declares his love and also swears to be loyal to her. Then Miranda says that if you accept me as your wife, fine. If not, you cannot stop me from being your maid. So now Ferdinand kneels that I will be your servant forever, and he pledges his love, his devotion for her. And Prospero is watching everything, they are not aware of it, and he says that it is because of you that I am bearing the tyranny of your father, and I am the patient logman. So this is a very nice scene. This is a romantic scene, you can say, where both the lovers, they profess their love for each other very plainly. Miranda is so naive, so innocent, and though Ferdinand has seen the world, he has come in contact with many ladies, and yet he feels that many of them had some good characteristic of or the other, but they had also some faults, and which fault was so glaring that he naturally left her. He did not get so much impressed. He was impressed maybe by some quality or the other, but they had some faults which overweighed their virtues. But in Miranda, he considers that she is completely virtuous. There is nothing of vice in her. So this is a typical lover. So, and Prospero watching everything. So Miranda, she doesn't have any false modesty. She is very innocent, very natural, brought up in an island. So all those courtly manners and pretensions, she is devoid of all these. And Ferdinand, bearing his slavery, also shows his true love for Miranda. He says, because of you I am this patient logman. And so this scene highlights Miranda's character, and also it shows the progress of Prospero's plan. What was Prospero's plan? To see Miranda and Ferdinand fall in love with each other. This is what he had wanted, and he sees the progress in this. So the main note of this is that freedom consists in service, and Ferdinand and Miranda, they are ready to take this difficult job of piling the log of woods for the sake of each other. Ferdinand is ready to be the patient logman for the sake of Miranda, and Miranda is ready to do all this because of Ferdinand. So this is what it highlights, their true love for each other also. And again the subplot comes and intervenes. This is again a comic relief. Act 3 scene 2 is again a comic relief. You have the minor characters, those very characters which you had seen in Act 2 scene 2, you find them again here, Act 3 scene 2. So those two drunken ones, or rather all the three drunk, Trinculo, Stephano and Caliban. So they are all drunk, and Stephano is very impressed with the idea of his becoming the lord of this island, and Caliban now wants to take revenge upon Prospero, and in the meantime Trinculo and Caliban, they never really get along well. Trinculo keeps on abusing Caliban, and Stephano has to come in between them. So Caliban keeps on complaining to Stephano about the high-handedness of Prospero and why he wants to get rid of Prospero, and provoking Stephano against Prospero so that Prospero is killed by Stephano. He wants Stephano to kill Prospero, so he uses Miranda as a bait. He says that Prospero has a fine daughter, and if you kill Prospero, you will also have Miranda, you will become the king, Miranda will be your queen, and she will give you fine children. So crude, so wicked. So whenever he speaks of the tyranny of Prospero, Ariel being invisible, is where Trinculo is positioned, and from there, imitating Trinculo's voice, he keeps on troubling Caliban by saying, "Thou liest." So naturally Caliban gets infuriated, and he says, what type of a fool is this? See, he is troubling me and all that. He keeps on complaining to Stephano, and Trinculo says, why? I did not say anything. And then what happens? Stephano scolds Trinculo, so Trinculo moves a little bit away from them. Then Caliban plans his revenge upon Prospero. He tells Stephano that when Prospero is asleep, he gives a number of ways in which Prospero can be killed by Stephano. And yes, you can cut his throat with a knife, but first you have to take control over his magic books, and without them he is very helpless. And Caliban also says that yes, you will get his daughter, which will be a much better price. And in the meantime, now Stephano had beaten up Trinculo because he had thought that Trinculo is interrupting Caliban when Caliban is talking of the plan, and now he makes up with Trinculo, and then he says that yes, when I become the king, you will be my lieutenant. And after this they start singing and dancing, and then this music is played by Ariel, and Stephano and Trinculo, because they can't see Ariel, they are a bit confused, they are bewildered, But Caliban assures them that you don't need to be worried, because this island is full of magical things, and many times I have heard sounds. So there is a very nice speech of Caliban, and he says, "Now many times from my dream I have awakened only to fall back to sleep again, wishing that I were asleep again," and all the wonderful things he had seen or heard. So this conspiracy is the conspiracy of the lower characters. So two conspiracies are running parallel. One of the major characters, Antonio and Sebastian, and this is the conspiracy of the lower characters, Stefano, Trinculo and Caliban. One is to murder the king. The higher ones, they are planning to murder the king, and the lower ones, they are planning to murder Prospero. So two conspiracies going parallel, but none of them really none of them succeed. Why? Because of Prospero's magic. Prospero, with his magical powers, comes to know of this and he acts accordingly. When Antonio and Sebastian were about to kill the king, Ariel goes and wakes up these people, Gonzalo, Alonso, Adrian, Francisco. So that attempt is foiled. When these try to come close to Prospero's cell, as you will find it in Act 5, Scene 1, when they try to come closer to this cell, or rather Act 4, Scene 1, after the mask. So then also Prospero and Ariel, they put a trap for these characters to fall into, and then the dogs, then the spirits in the form of dogs are let loose on them. So, and a lot of torment for them. And another scene now is Act 3, Scene 3, where we find that Alonso and the other characters, that means Sebastian, Antonio, Gonzalo, they have landed in another part of this island. They have been searching for Ferdinand, and finally Alonso is too heartbroken. He feels that Ferdinand is gone. And Gonzalo is also really tired. Antonio and Sebastian, they are really happy to hear that Alonso is really heartbroken. He is frustrated. He is a disappointed man. So in that case, they are planning a fresh attack on Alonso on that particular night when they would be very tired. So they plan to do this. Why? Because they would be tired on account of their roaming around the island after the shipwreck. So they would be sleeping soundly, and this would give them the opportunity to carry out their plans. And then again there is a music heard, and after this music, this is what we call the banquet scene and the harpy scene. Why? Because strange creatures come with a lot of food. They bring in a banquet. They dance around the table. They salute to the king and these dignitaries, and they invite the king and his men to eat, and then they leave. So looking at these strange creatures, they are really amazed. They feel that yes, now we can believe anything, that there are strange creatures. When travelers, they returned after visiting strange lands, they would always talk of what they had seen and no one would believe them. But now he says that yes, we would believe in whatever the travelers say. So Sebastian says that he is ready to believe that unicorns exist, and then there is also a phoenix still living, and Gonzalo also agrees to all these. And as they are about to sit and have the food, then suddenly the food disappears. So imagine what a torment it must have been. They are so hungry, food before them, and the moment they sit down to enjoy the food, earlier they were skeptical that the food might not be proper, it might be poisonous and all that, but finally when they agree to have the food, and then the food disappears, and then what happens? Ariel comes in the form of a harpy. So, and then as the harpy, Ariel speaks out to them and reminds them of their wicked crime they had committed 12 years ago. So Alonso, Sebastian, Antonio, they are all really dumbstruck. In this island, how does this creature know about what we had done 12 years ago? So they are amazed, and now Alonso is all the more grief stricken because he feels that it is because of the crime I had committed towards Prospero and Miranda that I have to suffer in such a way. I have been cruel to Prospero and his little daughter, and now I lose my son. So he is all the more in a state of misery. And even this harpy reminds them of their guilt, Antonio, Sebastian. So when they try to draw their swords to attack the harpy, so he makes fun and he says that you may do all the impossible tasks, but you won't be able to injure even one feather of mine. And then he says, you three, you are not fit to live among human beings, and that is why you have been put here in this island, so that you might repent for what you have done. If you are really repentant, so unless you repent, there is no escape for you. And so after this, Ariel disappears. So these shapes, they come, they take the table away, and Prospero is also watching all this. He is invisible, but he is watching how they are reacting to all this, and he is very happy. Why? Because he feels that Ariel and the subordinate spirits, they have carried out the job to perfection, and now all his enemies are in his power. What more could he want? So he leaves them in a state of dejection. They are in a very abstract state, and now he wants to go and have a look at Ferdinand and Miranda, how they are getting along. So the spirits scolding Alonso and Antonio and Sebastian. So they are, Alonso is a penitent man. He is completely repentant, and he also believes that his son is lost because of the crime he had committed. So they all leave. These three major characters, they leave. So Gonzalo, being a very prudent person, he realizes that in this state of desperation they might try to do something very drastic. So he tells those who are young, of suppler joints and all that, to follow them. So because they might commit something very drastic, they might commit suicide. So this is quite important. Why? Because this is the banquet scene, we call it, or the harpy scene. So the supernaturals, the spirits, Ariel as the harpy and the meaner spirits, they come with the food, and then they make strange gestures and ask them to sit for their food, and then they come and then they carry away the table and all that. So this is quite an important scene. So Prospero at this moment, we find, is a satisfied man at the height of his power, where his enemies, they are miserable and repentant. And then again another mask scene we find in Act 4, Scene 1. This is also important, because here for the first time Prospero wants Miranda and Ferdinand to have a taste of his magical powers. Up till now, whatever he had done, Miranda had no idea of all this. But now he feels, why? Because the time has come for him to give up his magic. He has planned that once everything, whatever he is wishing for, they reach its climax, its fulfillment, he will relinquish or renounce magic forever. So he feels that before I do that, I think I should give this couple, these two lovers, a taste of my magical potence. So he needs the help of Ariel. So Prospero is happy with Ferdinand. That when the scene opens, we find that Prospero is happy with Ferdinand, because he feels Ferdinand is a genuine lover, and he tells that if I have been rude to you, what I give will compensate for my rudeness, and he hands Miranda to Ferdinand. But at the same time he warns that before you are married, no physical intimacy, because if you do that, he gives the warning that your life will become miserable, your marital life will always be full of fights, and you won't have children if you get physically involved before marriage. But if you wait for your marriage, and then what will happen in that case? It will be blessings all the way, and you will be blessed with good children, you will be happy in your married life, your love for each other will remain forever and all that. So Ferdinand assures that I do hope for fair issues, I want my love to remain till in the same manner in my later years also. So I assure that the passion won't come in my love. Even the darkest place also will not provoke me to take advantage of the situation. So Prospero, we find, is a concerned father, and Ferdinand assures him that nothing wrong will take place between us. And after that, Prospero wants that they should have a taste, they should have an idea of his magical powers. So Ariel and his spirits, they come disguised as, they perform as Iris, Ceres and Juno. Juno is the queen of goddess, and Iris and Ceres is the goddess of abundance, and Iris is the rainbow or the messenger of Juno. And while these three are playing their parts, they have come here, why? To bless the couple. So Ceres blesses them with all abundance, and Juno also blesses them. And before that, Ceres had asked Iris whether Venus would be coming, because she is angry with Venus. So Venus is the goddess of love, but Iris assures her that no, Venus and her son Cupid, they had planned to do some mischief on this couple, but they failed, and now they have left for their home in Paphos, and they won't come and join them. After that, there is a nice display of song and music. The nymphs, they come ordered by Juno, and then the reapers come, and the nice program is going on. This is what we call the supernatural, the mask scene. And after that, suddenly Prospero seems very agitated. Why? Because he had forgotten the conspiracy of Caliban and his confederates. So he tells all these spirits to disperse, and they leave. And then Ferdinand and Miranda, they are quite shocked to see Prospero reacting in such a manner. He seems to be so agitated. So Ferdinand is asking Miranda that he seems, all of a sudden he seems so changed, and then Prospero begs forgiveness, and then there is an important speech of Prospero which can always come as a reference to context. So in this one, Prospero tells that yes, we are, everything which you saw, they were really spirits, and then they have disappeared into thin air in the same way as the snow-capped mountains, and everything will disappear one day from this universe, even the universe and everything. So these are very important lines. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, that means everything that is in this earth and in this universe, they will fade away. And they wouldn't leave a trace. And we are also our life is very brief, and it is like and then we fall asleep. That sleep from which there is no waking up, that means death. Our life is very brief. And then he tells Ferdinand that he is troubled in mind, so please bear with me, it is on account of my old age. So you can go to my cell and talk to each other. In the meantime, I want to walk a little in order to calm my disturbed mind. Actually, he wants to talk to Ariel. So Ferdinand and Miranda, they agree, and then Ariel comes and he asks Ariel, and Prospero tells Ariel that we have to get ready to meet with Caliban. So Ariel said, yes, when I was presenting Ceres, so Ariel had played the role of Iris. So when I was presenting Ceres, I had come to know of this, I wanted to tell you, but I did not hope, because I was afraid that you might be angry. And then they planned to trap these. So Prospero orders Ariel to go and fetch some gaudy dresses that are in his cell, and Ariel brings them, and these dresses are put on a line. And seeing these dresses, Trinculo and Stephano, they get attracted. But Caliban is more interested in the plan being fulfilled. So he keeps on urging them to forget this. He says this is just trash. So leave it and do the work. He is afraid that what if Prospero wakes up, then the plan will be foiled. But Trinculo and Stephano, they are of lower status, and naturally these gaudy dresses attract them. So they keep on putting on the dresses, and then they order Caliban to go and keep the dress in his cave. Stephano orders, and after that, Prospero and Ariel, being invisible, they set the other spirits who come as dogs and chase them away. So this is where this Act 4 Scene 1 comes to an end. So they are driven away, and finally Act 5 Scene 1. Act 5 Scene 1 is actually a summing up of the drama, like you had in Merchant of Venice. So it is a scene of forgiveness and also reconciliation. So the brothers, they get reconciled to each other. So what happens? Prospero is very happy, and then he asks Ariel, how are these people? And Ariel seems to be quite disturbed by the on seeing the condition of these three. So he tells Prospero that. So Prospero says that, do you really feel sad? He says, if I had been a human, I would have felt affected. So he says, then I should also feel affected being a human. If you are a spirit and you can feel sorry for them, then why shouldn't I feel sorry? And then he wants to break the magical charm which he had cast on them. And because of this charm, their brain had gone blank and they had been in a state of abstraction. And now he wants to release them from this magical charm and wants to restore them to their senses. So he tells Ariel to go and bring them. And after that, there is a long speech of Prospero, where we are aware, yet elves of hills, brooks. So where we find that Prospero had worked his magical charms with the help of these supernatural creatures. What are the things he had done? And now he wants to give up this rough magic. So he wants to break his magical staff or the magic wand and wants to bury it deep into the earth, and also he wants to bury his books. So this shows that Prospero is now winding up the plot. He knows that his plans are reaching its fulfillment. So after that, he doesn't need any more magic, because it was this magic in which he was engrossed, and that is what had brought him here to this island. If he had not been so engrossed in his magic, he wouldn't have been, his dukedom wouldn't have been usurped by his brother. It was he who was responsible. He gave his brother the chance. So once his plans reach their fulfillment, then he is going to renounce his magic forever, bury his book and wand deep into the earth. And then these his enemies, they come before him very helpless. So, and they are amazed, and when he sees Gonzalo, Gonzalo is crying at the condition of the king and all that. So then he addresses Alonso and he tells, you have used me and my daughter in a very bad manner. Your brother had been an accomplice in this. And then, yes, he is forgiving them, but they are in such a state of abstraction that they cannot believe what they see. So he feels that I should now come before them as Prospero, the Duke of Milan, and only then they might believe. So he wears the dress, the robe of the Duke of Milan, and then these people, they are so confused, and he says, yes, I am before you, I am the wrong Duke of Milan, I am Prospero. So let me embrace you so that you realize I am not a spirit, but I am a flesh and blood creature. So Alonso, he is very confused, but at the same time he begs forgiveness for all that he had done. But he is still amazed, how should Prospero be living? So he says this is a very long story. And then there is Sebastian, and he believes that this is not Prospero but this is the devil, and Prospero says no. And then he tells Antonio also that calling you a brother you are so wicked that calling you a brother would infect my mouth, and yet I forgive you. And Alonso is ready to give Prospero back his dukedom, and then he is very sad. He says that I have lost my son in this shipwreck. So Prospero says I have lost my daughter, and he says, so Alonso is very sad and he wishes that both of them were alive and in Naples ruling as the king and queen. And then he says, when did you lose your daughter? So he says, I lost my daughter in this tempest. Yeah, this is really humorous. Why? Because when he says I've lost my daughter in this tempest, he really means that he has lost his daughter to Ferdinand. And then he takes them to his cell where the king sees Ferdinand and Miranda playing at chess, and he is amazed that he says that yes, how can it be possible? If it is an illusion, then I'll lose my son twice. And then he realizes that no, it is the truth. And then he is very happy and he asks forgiveness from Miranda. Ferdinand comes and tells that yes, she is not a goddess, she is mortal, and yes, she is mine, and she has made Prospero my second father. So Alonso agrees to be the second father of Miranda. So the marriage is more or less settled. Gonzalo is very happy, and then Ariel brings the master and the bosun, and from them they come to know that the ship is now in the same condition as it was when they had first started their journey in it. So it is so amazing, such surprising things happening in this. So the bosuns come, and Ariel asks his master if he has done his job well, and Prospero is very happy. And then Alonso finds that this is such a strange island, everything is so strange. And then 3 more to come. This is actually a rounding up. All the characters of this play will come here. So who are the 3 left? Trinculo, Stefano and Caliban. They are all brought here. So they look so what should we say, they look so grotesque, they look so hideous. Why? Because they had fallen in that filthy pool, and they are stinking and full of mud and all those slimy things on them. So it is very difficult, and also in their stolen dress, and they look so hideous. So first though they are not recognized, and finally they realize, oh my God, these are they are recognized as Stefano and Trinculo, and Prospero says yes, this one I acknowledge as my own. Now Caliban is amazed, so many creatures, goodly creatures, and my master, he looks so royal, oh, he will punish me. So now he feels it's better I listen to him. And so Prospero tells that yes, if you don't want to be punished, go and clean my cell. And Alonso also gives orders to Stefano and Trinculo to do the same. Why? Because he will receive the king in that cell. So these 3 are given the job, and Caliban very devotedly he obeys, because he knows that this Stefano on whom I had put my trust is a good for nothing fellow. So they leave, and then Prospero says that he invites Alonso and the rest to spend this night in his cell, and he wants to relate the story, how he had landed in this island and all that. And next morning they will start for Naples, where he will be a witness to the marriage of Ferdinand and Miranda, and after that he will go back to Milan and count his last days and then yes, so finally it is, as I said, a summing up. It ends in happiness. So all of them leave, and the epilogue. In the epilogue we find Prospero. This is a very nice way of taking leave of the audience. See, Shakespeare's plays were always made for his audience, they were always staged. So it is a nice way to take leave of the audience. He has given up his magic, so his powers is very weak. So he wants a clap from the audience. This will set him free from the charm and then he can leave. So this is a nice way of bidding farewell to the audience. So this is how our Tempest comes to an end. It is a lengthy one because yes, 5 acts, covering it is not an easy job. Anyway, do let me know how you liked it and don't forget to press the like button. Share it with your friends. I need my 100k. Okay, bye and happy preparations.